Some say the president's rhetoric is divisive, not that of a commander-in-chief. Others will say that's why they love him. What is true, whether you agree with him or not, he has a tendency to go too far, to divide rather than unite. And there's a moment I wanted to share with you today that has so many people saying those are the words of a leader at a time when a divided nation needs them the most. Here's the backstory. At the U.S. Air Force Academy Prep School, 5 African-American cadet candidates found the words "Go home" written on their doors, including the N-word. This wasn't on social media, but physically written on their message boards. Those outrageous discoveries leading the lieutenant general in charge of the entire academy to stand up, gather everyone into the room, and make it very clear: hate, racism, not here.
You may have heard that some people down in the prep school wrote some racial slurs on some message boards. If you haven't heard that, I wanted you to hear it from me. If you're outraged by those words, then you're in the right place. That kind of behavior has no place at the prep school, it has no place at USAFA, and it has no place in the United States Air Force. You should be outraged not only as an airman, but as a human being. And I'll tell you that the appropriate response for horrible language and horrible ideas, the appropriate response is a better idea. So that's why I'm here. That's why all these people are up here on the staff tower. So let me have everybody who's up here please pull forward to the rails. Also, there are so many people here, they're lining the outsides along the windows. These are members of the faculty, coaching staff, AOCs, AMTs, from the airfield, from my staff, from my headquarters. All aspects of the 10th Air Base Wing, all aspects that make up USAFA and the United States Air Force Academy. Leadership is here. You heard from Brigadier General Goodwin. Brigadier General Armacost is here. Colonel Block from the Athletic Department is here. Mr. Knowlton is in Washington, D.C. right now. That's why they're here. That's why we're all here, because we have a better idea. Some of you may think that that happened down in the prep school and doesn't apply to us. I would be naive, and we would all be naive to think that everything is perfect here. We would be naive to think that we shouldn't discuss this topic. We would also be tone deaf not to think about the backdrop of what's going on in our country. Things like Charlottesville and Ferguson, the protests in the NFL. That's why we have a better idea. One of those ideas, the dean brought people together to discuss Charlottesville. Because what we should have is a civil discourse and talk about these issues. That's a better idea. We received outstanding feedback from that session at Charlottesville. But I also have a better idea, and it's about our diversity. And it's the power of the diversity, the power of the 4,000 of you and all of the people that are on the staff tower and lining the glass, the power of us as a diverse group. The power that we come from all walks of life, that we come from all parts of this country, that we come from all races, we come from all backgrounds, gender, all makeup, all upbringing. The power of that diversity comes together and makes us that much more powerful. That's a much better idea than small thinking and horrible ideas. We have an opportunity here, 5,500 people in this room, to think about what we are as an institution. This is our institution, and no one can take away our values. No one can write on a board and question our values. No one can take that away from us. So just in case you're unclear on where I stand on this topic, I'm going to leave you with my most important thought today. If you can't treat someone with dignity and respect, then you need to get out. If you can't teach someone from another gender, whether that's a man or a woman, with dignity and respect, then you need to get out. If you demean someone in any way, then you need to get out. And if you can't treat someone from another race or a different color skin with dignity and respect, then you need to get out. Reach for your phones. I'm serious. Reach for your phones. Okay, you don't have to reach for your phones. I'm going to give you an opportunity to reach for your phones. Grab your phones. I want you to videotape this so that you have it, so that you can use it. So that we all have the moral courage together. All of us on the staff tower, lining the glass, all of us in this room. This is our institution. And if you need it, and you need my words, then you keep these words. And you use them, and you remember them, and you share them, and you talk about them. If you can't treat someone with dignity and respect, then get out.
Here is the man, Lieutenant General Jay Silveria. Welcome, and thank you so much for just your service to this country, sir.
Thank you for having me, Brooke.
May I just say bravo, and I would love to hear just why you chose to do this head on. Why did you do that?
Well, first off, Brooke, everything that we do here is about developing airmen and about developing these airmen into leaders. So I needed to address the topic head on, but it's also about teaching them about addressing the topic. So I wanted to be unambiguous about how we're going to treat this topic, but everything that we do here is about developing these airmen. So I wanted to take an opportunity to also give them a leadership lesson.
Let me, General, I have a feeling you haven't done this, so I'm just going to indulge you in some of the reaction on social media. A couple quotes. This is what power, leadership, and advocacy looks like. Excellent words from Lieutenant General Jay Silveria. General Jay Silveria, leader, patriot, American. Yes, this is how it's supposed to be. Take note. Hashtag Silveria 2020. Wow, true leaders unite. Thank you, Lieutenant General J.B. Silveria, for your service and leadership. I mean, General, the implication here, those who were elected to lead are not leading, and that you, sir, are. Do you think Washington needs better leadership?
Brooke, my message to the cadets was not about that. What I wanted the cadets to see when I stood up there on that tower on the stage over them, I had 1,500 of my faculty, staff, coaches there. They lined the walls. They stood along the tower there with me over the cadets. I wanted them to see all of us as an institution protecting these values. That's what I wanted them to see. This wasn't any other message outside of that. I wanted to have a direct conversation with them about the power of diversity, about the power of that room you heard in the speech, about the power of our makeup, because ultimately these men and women are going to be lieutenants in the United States Air Force. They're going to be producing combat capability and making us lethal on the battlefield. So, and those ideas, we need those diverse ideas. That's the message that I wanted them to hear.
You did, General, mention events, with ramifications outside the room. You mentioned Ferguson. You mentioned Charlottesville. You mentioned the NFL protests in your speech. And then, specifically on that, I mean, the nation is divided. And I just would love to hear your thoughts. I mean, how do you personally feel when you've been watching some of these players kneel during the national anthem?
Well, Brooke, we would be tone deaf here to not consider that that's a backdrop of this incident that's happened at the prep school. We'd be tone deaf to not know what's going on in the rest of the country. But here at the Air Force Academy, we take opportunities like this to teach the cadets and to develop them and to show them what they should be doing, what they should be discussing, and how important our values are to us as an Air Force and as an institute.
Watching you, and I've seen that speech now 4 times over today, it's almost like you could have heard a pin drop with you speaking. Have you spoken to these cadets since then? I mean, what's the response you've been getting?
Well, Brooke, as you can imagine, these are 18 to 22-year-olds, and that age group does not hesitate to tell us how they feel. So there's a lot of avenues that we hear about how they feel, and so far the feedback's been overwhelming, overwhelming positive, that they appreciate the message, and they appreciate, as you mentioned in the beginning, taking on the topic directly and upfront in an unambiguous way.
Just last quick question. I know you can't speak to the investigation or what will happen with any of those involved, but I'm just thinking of our young people in this country, some of whom who would like to become airmen and airwomen, who are learning about this incident and may hesitate in signing up or applying. What would you say to those young people that this is not tolerated?
Well, Brooke, that's a great question. First and foremost, those cadet candidates that are directly impacted by this, we're giving them all the support that we can to get them through this immediate time frame, because they're in the middle of classes and they're in the middle of their training. So I've spoken with their families, I've spoken with them to try to get them through this and provide them whatever support they need. But I would be very clear to any young man or young woman across this country that wants to be part of the Air Force and wants to be part of the Air Force Academy, that incident does not in any way represent the values of what we represent. We represent core values of integrity and service and excellence in the Air Force, and I wanted to make that clear to the cadets yesterday.
General, thank you so very much.
Well, thank you very much, Brooke.
Coming up next, it just might be 10.